You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strome stops Shipley. Ritchie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down the IceDogs' 5-1 defeat at the hands of the Barrie Colts here on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in on our live stream tonight on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. And thank you to those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Please give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage. Cam, this one, we're going to hear from head coach Ben Boudreau later on the postgame show, but again, he was pretty disappointed with the fact that this Barrie team, although they had lost 5 of their first 6 games in January, getting on the in the win column yesterday, was pretty said that it was they were outclassed tonight by just a team that's obviously loaded up and ready to compete for an OHL championship. But it was a very close game on the score sheet. I know it was shots for 40-24 in the end for Barrie, but it was a 2-1 game up until Barrie blew it open with 3 goals in the final 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the IceDogs are still in the situation where if they're missing any of their top 6, including Asadoran and now Matthew Paris, it's just going to be an uphill battle against some of the teams in the East that went all in. Again, we talked about this at the trade deadline, that we thought that the IceDogs won their deadline by not making any moves, but obviously for this season, when you're going up against teams that kind of went all in, Barrie and Oshawa look to be the class of the Eastern Conference, but you know, they've got 9 NHL drafted players already, including Kayshawn Aitchison, who will more than likely be in the top 15 of the NHL draft this upcoming season. It's just obviously loaded top to bottom, and the IceDogs, I thought Flores did everything he could to keep them in it until the third period, and I think the score reflects the stats in terms of the shots on goal and things like that, and maybe the time on attack. But this game was much closer until that third goal went in for Barrie in the third period, and I think it was just a matter of one team showing all of their talent at once, and the IceDogs a little bit undermanned from their regular roster. But, like I mentioned, I think that for the majority, until they got that third goal scored on them, they played decently well, at least to stay in it.
They pulled off the 2 points against North Bay last night, despite being outshot in that game as well. So they're, still sitting first in the Central Division, but Barrie's breathing down their neck now, only 1 point back with a game in hand.
Yeah, I think the lack of, or their shot total discrepancy is going to be an issue that they're going to have to fix in the offseason. They get outshot quite heavily every night. I mean, we talked about this before. They score the most goals in the Eastern Conference, but they also give up the most goals in the Eastern Conference. It's just a ton of high-event hockey. And obviously there will be nights where things don't go their way, and especially against the D-Corps and Barrie, which is quite strong, probably up there with London in terms of just the depth they have. And, it doesn't hurt when you have a 2-time World Junior gold medal goaltender at Hillebrand there as well when everything breaks down. But, again, these stretches are going to happen. I was just looking over their last 15 games. They're still 11-4-1. They had a little bit of a rough patch coming out of the Christmas break, but still in the last 15 games they've done quite well. And as it still stands, even with the loss tonight, they're still 1 point up on the Eastern Conference, one over Oshawa and Barrie. And it's just, I think these are the games where you look at it and it's like, man, the IceDogs, are they really the best team in the Eastern Conference when, you look at the standings and things like that? And again, I think that their top players play fantastic most nights, and sometimes you're just going to have games where you get outworked like this one tonight. So, tough ending, but again, I thought that they did a great job of at least keeping it a game through 40.
We'll get into it with our prep list tonight, brought to you by Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano. You tried the rest, now it's why not try the best? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, proudly serving the Niagara community since 2013. Check them out at carmine'spizzeria.ca for the best quality pizza wing combos in Niagara. Cam, go over the lineup tonight because obviously they were missing some key guys, basically a whole third line.
Well, yeah, no Asadorian, no Paris, so Dianov and Charlie Hotless draws in. I thought that some of the role players that, had to be put in elevated positions, Blake Aerosmith had one of his better games. Doesn't get to show for it in terms of on the score sheet, but I thought that he was just buzzing. He was very noticeable, and one of the only players in the first 40 minutes that was able to carry the puck and actually generate something through the neutral zone. I thought Galyanov had a great game as well. Again, just not the finishing touch that you need sometimes, but he was really moving for a majority of this game. And, again, I think that there was a sequence, their only goal, we'll get into the scoring summary very shortly, but it's nice to see that when Loshko and Kevin and Ryan, they put all the big boys on the ice and they were able to get one, and it was just a really nice play, too, against, again, a very stacked lineup in Barrie. But, anytime that they're missing some key pieces, Wysick, too, so it wasn't like it was just up front. The depth will obviously be tested. I think that their top-end players are able to carry them through maybe the bottom portion of the Eastern Conference, but again, the Eastern Conference is wide open. You had Sudbury bye. You've got Brampton, who was the favorite coming into the year. You've got Brantford, who is finally getting healthy. It's just a very difficult conference to survive through. There's never going to be a lot of easy nights, and even Peterborough has been quite good over the last 6 weeks. So, the lineup looks a little rough, especially when Paris looks to be out for a little while. We'll see how long Asadorian is and Wysick. It's all about the playoffs now, so they've just got to get through the next 2 months and get healthy before their playoff round.
Yeah, it sounds like Matthew Paris is going to be week to week right now. Asadorian's closer to returning than Paris is, but again, having those two guys out of the lineup because they've both been so good when they've been playing, but now they've both had multiple extended absences this year.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's frustrating, but it's frustrating for them as well. Obviously, they don't want to sit in the press box, and they've watched more games than they've played in, and the IceDogs have been playing, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference so far through 43 games. So there's only, 25 games to go. These guys just need to get healthy because that first round, even if they finish in the top 3 of the standings, it's not guaranteed to be an easy round. I mean, obviously, winning the conference and getting one of North Bay or Ottawa would be phenomenal, because those two look like they would be an easier out. But after that, I mean, no one wants to play Brampton or Brantford or even Kingston. Sudbury, we'll see, but they bought, so they've got some reinforcements. So.
Yeah, the top 6 teams in the East are definitely in a tier above maybe the final 2 there, and anybody can beat anybody here in Niagara. It wouldn't be an easy matchup, whoever they faced out of those top 6 teams, 7 teams that you mentioned, really, up till Brampton in the 7th spot. Mm-hmm. So again, they're in first place right now, but again, if they can maintain home ice for a playoff round down the stretch, would be big. And this was a good test for them, as far as we'll hear Ben Boudreau say, just outclassed tonight in certain areas because of how many horses, pun intended, that Barrie has. A lot of NHL drafted talent and 3 lines and 6 defensemen, even without Gabe Eliason tonight. They just work you and work you and work you, and I'm sure those players are really gassed after a game like that because that Marty Williamson coach team on the other side just looks like it's potent and ready for one of those deep playoff runs that we've seen.
Well, absolutely, but I think that, again, like I mentioned, I think that the shot discrepancy and things like that is going to have to be an off-season fix because they just don't. The IceDogs just don't control the play a lot. Their offense comes off of the rush, or it's very quick in the offensive zone, or it's on the power play. Last year, their power play was under 10%. It took the off-season. They acquired Loshko, who's, I believe, tied for second in the league or tied for first in the league in power play.
He's tied for second, but technically fifth.
Yeah, in the league for power play goals. So obviously they were able to fix that in the offseason, and that's really been the biggest difference, I think, year over year in terms of why they're in first and not last. But next offseason, they've really got to figure out a way structurally, with the guys they have to maintain play. Because in the first two periods, my goodness, it was just the cycle game by Barrie. You could just see it. Like, the guys were just trying to survive shifts.
Yeah, we'll get into it now with our game stats brought to you by Gales Gas, your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. They're not just a gas station or a local tradition, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gales with multiple locations across Niagara. You mentioned the shots on goal, Cam. 16 in the first and 16 in the second for the Colts. After two, the shots were 32-11 in favor of the Colts. It ended up being 40-24 with the IceDogs getting the better of them in the third with 13-8. And I know the IceDogs did miss 6 or 7 nets high and wide, and Galianov hit a post. But the shots on goal, unlike last night with North Bay, where they were keeping a lot to the outside, and even though North Bay led them in the shots, it didn't feel like North Bay was heavily outplaying Niagara. Tonight was a completely different story, and we saw it with the Colts. Yeah,
and if you were to look at shot attempts, Barrie must have missed the net 20 times, too. So they were trying to go upstairs on Flores and did not hit the net more often than not. So again, just it was a great cycle game by Barrie, and they are going to be such a difficult team because they are physical throughout too, right? Like, it is going to be really hard to beat them in a 7-game series, which is why they're more than likely going to be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, who then has to go and deal with London more than likely. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. That being said, these games for Niagara, we mentioned this in the last one, or I mentioned this in the last post-game recap. They just have to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. And as long as they do that, they should guarantee themselves a spot on home ice in the first round, which I think is huge. And again, the crowd tonight, again, we're approaching about 3,000 in attendance each night. So I think that's a big improvement. Tonight was a little light, but again, football Sundays is just awfully tough, But the last few games have been over 3,000, ever since that sellout on New Year's Eve. And that's going to be really important as we go down the stretch here. But again, just getting that first round playoff matchup. They take out North Bay. They've got to beat North Bay. They've got to beat Peterborough, which seems to be an issue, and then in Ottawa, for example. But they've really got to make sure they handle their business against those teams, and so far they did that this weekend.
29:33, the announced attendance at Meridian Centre, just
3,000.
under 3,000, and you had your family and your youngin in his IceDogs,
He made it through his first OHL game, so I loved that. Yeah, you got to see Bones, scared him to death, but he somehow slept through the second period and then actually watched the third period. So I was pretty proud to see that he actually made it, because we've been to like 3 or 4 games now. My little guy has not made it to the third period yet, so that was good to see. But unfortunately, the third period was not one that I wanted him to watch.
Yeah, and there wasn't a goal horn to wake him up in the third period either.
No,
but
he slept right through the goal horn.
Wow.
The one in the second. So.
It's probably the only one. That thing scares the crap out of the rest of us.
It is obnoxiously loud on this side because it's where it is just open below it. So the acoustics in here, it is a loud goal horn.
Power play 0 for 2 for both teams. Again, this was a tight contest. Not a lot of penalties called, which I'm okay with. I'm honestly okay with the referees putting their whistles away. It felt like a playoff-type game where teams weren't going to get 5 or 6 power plays, and I was okay with that. The IceDogs just took them a little bit longer to get the one that Shanowski drew on Van Steensel with the trip, but both teams 0 for 2 on the power play. You can look at it that Niagara was 2 for 2 on the PK. They were 3 for 3 last night, so the penalty kill's doing its job. Face-offs, not a lot in this game, 26-24. In favor of Niagara. You were kind of shocked when I told you that.
It didn't feel like that, but that might have just been a situation where they weren't winning the important ones. There was a couple plays where Barrie would win the draw in the defensive zone and was able to get like a 2-on-1 against right off the draw win, which is frustrating, obviously, when you have an offensive zone draw. But yeah, I mean, like, that's big, obviously, especially with IceDogs out. You've got one of your best centermen, on the shelf, so. Azada just continued to improve. I thought he was great throughout most of this game. He's physical. And, yeah, I think you're right about the lack of penalties as long as it's consistent. There's a couple slashes that were, and after the whistle stuff, that was kind of, surprising they would let go. But, we've had reffing crews where they call everything. and then some where they just let them play. And like I said, as long as it's fair on both sides, then we're good.
Yeah, it almost felt like a quick game. There wasn't a lot of stoppages, not a lot of penalties. The only one that I thought that should have been was when Virgilio got slashed in the back of the leg by Bo Jelson. But other than that, I think the referees did a good job of not calling anything. Don't want to get into ref talk here, but again, in a playoff game, you're not going to give them any power play, so that's kind of what it felt like tonight.
Yeah.
On the faceoff dot, Lashko 12 of 17, Zada 9 of 20, and Galianov was only 2 of 7. There was a couple other guys that took 1 each as well, but Lashko led the way, 12 of 17 in that department. We'll get into our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Anthony Romani's opening goal, Cam, at the 6:17 mark of the first period, came down the right wing, and he had no room to put this puck in. It went in, it came out as quick as it went in. It was just one of those seeing eye shots. The guy that scored 50 goals with the North Bay Battalion last year. Just got to tip your cap to him on that one. Yeah,
I actually, you know what I mean? Like, it's the first time I believe we're getting to see Romani here.
He's been hurt all year.
Yeah, exactly. So, you kind of forget about him, but when you see him in the lineup on Barrie, it's just, man, like, they are very impressive top to bottom. That was a heck of a goal, yeah.
That was the Barrie Battalion goal. Romani from Van Steensel and Dallin Wakely, all the guys they made those 2 big trades with within the division. Then we get late in the first period, and Emil Hemming just left all alone in the blue paint. Actually got his first shot, didn't go in, but he got his rebound. But I know you pointed it out. It was a really good play at the blue line by Tristan Bertucci cutting down to make that pass.
Made a couple of great skating moves. Just a pivot where it looks like he's going to turn around, and I'm not sure who was following, but just bid on him completely. Just a great job skating-wise to create that himself. So.
And then we almost go the entire second period without a goal before Ryan Rubrick gets the IceDogs on the board. Finally, you felt like if they got that third goal, it was going to be really tough sledding for the IceDogs, but it was 2-0 for Barrie, and Ryan Rubrick gets them on the board with his 30th of the season.
Van Steensel lifting one up, and here's Wakely looking for Romani. Oh, he tipped it out front. Van Steensel missed the net. This North Bay trio, here's Lashko away with he and Rubrick. 3 IceDogs hit the line. It's Ryan Rubrick, scores! Rubrick says, we've got life, and we're in this game, and it's 2-1.
Audio goal highlights are courtesy of YourTV. Catch the IceDogs at home and on the road on YourTV Niagara, exclusively on Cogeco.
Yeah, unbelievable shot there by Rubrick over a world-class goalie. Just a perfect placement and a reminder. 30 goals. That was surprising to hear. Just, you don't think about it, and what a heck of a season after following up by breaking every, IceDogs franchise rookie record. So sky's the limit for Rubrick, and, he's just over I believe he just got to 60 points as well. So we'll see if we get our first 100-point player. Do you know the franchise record in points? Let's look that up.
I'll have to fact check it during the commercial.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I'd love to see if there was a 100-point player. I think there has been.
Robertson led the league the year that he was here.
True,
but it was split between.
I was going to say all with the IceDogs, but he's got a shot at it, and Ryan's had just a heck of a season, and that was a phenomenal shot to get them on the board.
And that felt like they were back in it.
Yeah. No, we had mentioned that, or I had mentioned that to you in the first, is it felt like a game where Flores can just keep it to 1 or 2. The way that it was going, they just needed to break it. That second period felt like the IceDogs were on the penalty kill the entire period. It was brutal. And that one rush they had at the end of the period, they just took advantage of it. And again, you had they had the big 3 out there, with he and Lashko, I believe, and Rubrick. So. Just a great finish to the very end of the period, and it made the game much more interesting. And again, the final score I don't think represents how the game went, because that was just, like I said, once the third goal went in, I think they just kind of realized that was it, which may be an issue with the lack of effort, but nonetheless, a heck of a performance there on that shot by Rubrick.
So it was 2-1 all the way until the 14:28 mark of the third period, and that's when Barrie blew it wide open with 3 goals in just over 2 minutes. Hemming, Jelsma, and Patterson with the 3 goals there. What were your thoughts there on any of the final 3 Barrie goals?
Well, I believe one was shorthanded, too, on their...
Bad bounce off of somebody off of Flores and went in for the Pattersons, the last one. But Jelsma and Hemming before that, 2 good plays as well.
Unbelievable play on Jelsma's goal. Just a fantastic feed to get it to him by, I believe it was Riley Patterson. They had a split second where he was open and he found him right in the slot, and it took less than a half second before that puck was off of Jelsma's stick. Just a phenomenal goal, and Flores really had no chance on it. But yeah, like I said, just some defensive breakdowns once that game got to 3 goals against, and unfortunate to see, but like I mentioned, they held in there quite a while.
Yeah, and you got to tip your cap to Owen Flores tonight. I mean, there was a couple plays where he was like scrambling outside of his net trying to find the puck, and what you mentioned, Barrie's cycle game and trying to get him left to right and trying to really get him off his game. But he was 35 of 40 tonight, but realistically, I mean, he kept him in this game and kept him with 2 goals for 54 minutes of the game. Yeah, and again, they had 40 shots before those went in too, so I mean, just another classic Flores night. I wish he didn't have to work as hard as he does, but it's something that will have to be addressed with the goaltending and the defense in the offseason, I think. So we're going to take a quick commercial break on today's show. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau as well as defenseman Noah Van Vliet on the postgame. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Back after this.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today, 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas stations in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station. They're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, Better Jobs Ontario information, and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983. This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Brody.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you, continuing to break down the IceDogs' 5-1 defeat at the hands of the Central Division rival Barrie Colts here on a Sunday afternoon, just shy of 3,000 in the building here at the Meridian Centre. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. So, Cam, before we get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills auto repair postgame, I said I was going to fact check during the break, and I've got it for everybody wondering. So Ryan Rubrick's up to 61 points in 42 games, which has him tied for 8th in the OHL. As far as season totals for IceDog players, number 1, Luca Caputi, 2007-2008, 111 points is the franchise record. Second is Ryan Strome in 10-11 with 106. And Ben Jones and Akil Thomas with 102. Both did it in the 2018-19 season on the same team.
200-point players.
And then Michael Swift, the IceDogs' first captain, I believe, 07-08, had a 100-point season. Those are the only 5 IceDogs to ever have a 100-point season. Jason Robertson is a little bit of an asterisk because he played with Kingston the same year.
No, and you think about not just Ryan, but Loshko and Kevin have both well above point per game pace. So interesting to see where they end up. Again, the Eastern Conference all loaded up. Usually you see, 2 or 3 teams maybe kind of go all in. So then all the other ones kind of, they sell off their overagers or some of the players looking for picks and whatnot. It just didn't happen in the Eastern Conference. So the Eastern Conference is maybe it doesn't have the top end like they do in the West, but there's definitely a discrepancy in terms of depth in the Eastern Conference compared to the West.
Ryan Rubrick tied for 4th in the OHL in goals now on the season for a guy that won't even be draft eligible till next season. Mm-hmm. Gets the Porter Martone treatment next season. But, yeah, as you mentioned, very good teams in the East as far as, maybe 6 or 7 of them that can compete in the West. It feels like it's a 3-horse race over there.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a 15, 20-point discrepancy from third to 4th after Kitchener down to Erie. So, it's just a crazy jump there, whereas you look in the Eastern Conference and, it's a 10-point gap between 7th all the way up to, 2nd. So there is no easy nights in the Eastern Conference, so they're going to have their work cut out for them. Ryan's on pace for just about, in the low 90s in terms of points, but you never know. It could get hot, so.
See what happens. We'll get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame. Brought to you by Wild Bills Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's what the IceDogs head coach had to say following his team's 5-1 defeat at the hands of the Barrie Colts. Well, Coach, shots were 40-24. I know you missed about 7 or 8 nets, and you hit a post as well. Were the shots indicative of what you thought the Colts team gave you tonight?
No, I mean, it's the way they played. I thought they probably could have gotten another 30 shots on net. They missed quite a bit as well, too, and it was a master class on what a premier team in this conference should look like. I mean, we respect them so much. We talked about them. We listened to their post-game speech where for them after losing 5 games, I don't know how that team lost 5 games, but that was the best team that we've seen all year. I mean, they had punch, they had power, they had execution, they had snarl, they had grit, and at the end of the day, I mean, we couldn't hold the flame to them right from the drop of the puck. They wanted it more at the end of the day.
Well, you were only down by a goal up until they blew it open there in the third period. But when you're going up against their top 9, which is pretty elite in the league, and you have basically your 4th line playing 3rd line, and without Paris and Levin and Asadorian, like how are you? I know you were shuffling up the lines a little bit too to try to get things to work there in the second period. So when you're going through that and knowing that going into the game, how do you kind of go about going through the motions of that with everybody?
Well, I mean, we took out 4 19-year-olds in our lineup with Wysick, Alex, and Paris and Levin. I mean, anytime you take out 4 19-year-old guys and you use youth as a replacement, you're going to lack experience and you're going to lack confidence. And it provided an opportunity these last 2 games, and hopefully the next few as well, for guys to step up. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody really sees that opportunity. I mean, a lot of our young forwards didn't really have an impact on the positive side. It was more negative. So I think that was disappointing, is when you get provided opportunity, you want somebody to step up and take it. And thought Gallianov getting his first goal in 19 games in the first period yesterday was a great step. But it's tough and taxing when your top guys find a way to produce every single night, but you need some of that depth scoring to come in. And when you're elevated from a 4th line to a 3rd line, or whether a young guy playing 3-4 minutes an extra a night, you need to find a way to have an impact. And if we used that game as a barometer of what a playoff team should be like, I mean, we'd be swept in the first round with that type of effort. So these are all valuable experiences, but it seems like that team is poised and ready to go on a deep playoff run, where we still got a lot of things to figure out within our group.
And you talk about a playoff type of atmosphere, a playoff type game when it's low scoring like that. I think the shots at one point were 31-6 for the opposition. And your back end and your goaltending was really hemmed in there. I noticed the Chinowski and maybe a couple other Virgilio, a couple of those guys really tried to step up their game tonight on the back end, and Flores obviously was stellar as he usually is. But when you're going through a game like that and you really need your 60 or 70 in this case and your goalie to step up, how do you think that from your end in whereas tonight?
I mean, like I said, with as many shots as they had, I mean, we're very admirable on the back end, between Browdy and Virgilio and Vleeter and, Chinner and Scotty. I mean, when Wysick, we've had 6 regular rotation of 6 defense all year, and without them going in, we've kind of relied on 5 heavy in these battles. And, at some point it takes a toll when, you don't have those guys there. So even Frasca and DeWatcher stepping up, I think, is great. But as far as placing expectations on, a couple young guys there that have only played cumulatively 30 minutes is really tough. And same thing with Hotless or Dianov, So it's tough to place expectations on them. But for anybody else that's been in the lineup, we need to find a way to make impacts by the end of the game.
Lastly, that was a good measuring stick game for you. Got another one on Wednesday up in Brantford, always a team that plays you tough. Short week, couple days of practice, but you'll get right back on it on Wednesday. So what's the message here as they leave for, the day off tomorrow?
Well, I think we play Barrie 4 more times. We play London. We play Kitchener. We play Erie a total of 4 more times. I mean, with only 25 games left in the season, I mean, there's no easy opponent any given night. And if we're using that as a playoff barometer, I think we would have failed that task. And, Wednesday is not going to be easy. Friday's not going to be easy. Sunday's not going to be easy. I mean, we got to be ready to compete. And these are habits we need to instill in our guys. And it's great when you win, and when you lose, I think your problems are magnified a little bit more. And so as far as us, our 50-50 or compete level, it needs to be raised. And I think we're feeling the impact of missing those 4 guys in our lineup.
Any positive, quick thoughts on Rubric getting his 30th?
Well, I mean, yeah, he's got 25 games to go. He's already surpassed last year's total by 2. I mean, you want to see young guys really take a step and grow. And I mean, having a 30-goal scorer on your roster is no joke. And great for him to find a way to produce. And like I said, I think the sky's the limit for him. And it's good to see him find a way to produce, and he's been very consistent at it. I mean, over 60 points and 4 points in the last 2. He's a shining bright star for us this year, and like I said, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
There was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame. Cam, he was pretty tough on his team tonight, maybe a little bit more critical than we were about his team's effort, saying that that if they had an effort like that, they could be swept in the first round. Just said that they couldn't hold flame to them tonight in pretty much all aspects, even though it was a 2-1 game for 54 minutes of it. What did you think about what the IceDogs head coach had to say tonight?
Well, yeah, the one thing is that even if you're not going to light up the score sheet or you're gonna give up shots, they can't be ones that you got to take a piece out of them. And maybe the physicality really wasn't there in terms of making them pay when they had to go when they were on the forecheck and things like that. Again, it's awfully tough when the IceDogs are going to lose those players out of their lineup, and he talked about that. A very young team when they've got to put in Frasca and Dianov and Hotless. So those games are going to be tough, and it happened to come against a team that's very, very good, top to bottom. And that team, too, they'd taken the foot off the gas pedal a little bit, too, as well, with some pretty stunning losses recently. So, obviously some frustration there from him, but, he's got to keep them motivated, and I think that's just kind of a part of the puzzle for, we've got 25 more games to go, and using that as make sure that they don't, talking about playoffs in terms of, that kind of effort will get you swept in the first round. That is a good lesson as well. Again, none of these guys have seen the playoffs in terms of the IceDog players, so they've got to get ready for that kind of environment.
Talked about it being a good test for them as far as, where they need to be. I know they were missing Eliason tonight, but this was the first time that we have seen Barrie with their full complement of forwards this year. Obviously, the 3 guys they just got from North Bay. Baudreau was out the last time they played, so Bo Akey was also away, I believe, the last time they played. So what do you think of this Barrie Colts team? Like, obviously, those top 3 teams in the West are going to be tough to beat, but it seems like with Marty Williamson behind the bench of this Barrie team, obviously they've given up a lot of good draft capital, a lot of good young players to North Bay. But, from what you've seen with the Colts tonight, where do you think that they might end up if they go up against one of these Western Conference teams in the finals?
Well, the thing that they're missing, so again, I think that when all eyes are on Oshawa and Barrie, and they have been from the majority of the season, I think the one thing that Barrie has over all of them is that they just work real hard, and they have a lot of talent on, they got dogs, that will just, are very rough. Their decor, Aitchison is just a hard guy to handle, very aggressive, and I think that maybe Oshawa has the edge with like Beckett Seneca, like the top end, that kind of flashy talent. But it is going to be awfully tough to knock any of those teams out. London is just a different animal. I mean, Barrie has 9 NHL drafted players. I believe London has 13. Like, that's half a roster, which is just absurd when you think about it, right? So I don't know if any team can in the OHL. I don't know if any team can in Canada or in the CHL. But Saginaw was able to do it, and London was impressive last year too. But that's why they play the games. Peterborough's beaten a lot of teams recently. And, you think that might be the easy win. But you see in hockey, when a team plays hard, that anything can happen. And it's going to be awfully tough to beat them 4 times. That's what I'll say. I think they have all of every line. I mean, like their third line, I believe, had Helming on it. Like he was sprinkled throughout the lineup. But even an NHL drafted player in their third line, it's just like it's such an advantage, right? And their decor might be the best outside of London. And that makes it very difficult. And their goaltender, again, just you kind of forget that, 2-time gold medal winning World Junior goaltender back there.
Yeah, for Team USA and Sam Hillebrand. But quickly, while you were talking about that, Galianov, Crete, and Doherty on the third line, they were going up against some really good players, and there was a few shifts where they got hemmed in. But just looks like when you have 3 lines like that on Barrie's side, it's just difficult that they're going to be going up against some really, really talented players. And you saw at times where Crete just a second too late, maybe had a really good opportunity. Galianov was out there, giving 120% as he does every game, but it's just difficult when you have a top 9 like Barrie does.
Absolutely. And, Galli, I believe, is a 4th-round pick and just one of the better ones. And he works really hard. I just think that, he's missing that finishing touch. And when it comes to Max, it reminds me a lot of Frolov last year, where he had a 16-year-old in the lineup in a prominent position, and there'd be nights where he does his job, and you're not expecting anything more than just, making sure that he's not giving up goals against or making those silly mistakes, things like that. But there was other nights where you remember that he is 16. It's awfully tough in this league, and against a team that, has tons of NHL drafted players, the game is extremely fast, and you definitely saw it today that, I think Max struggled a little bit there, but he has come up so big for us, and I think that he will be the Zada of next year, where I think you're going to see a big jump in offensive numbers and just confidence in general when it comes to next season. But, again, I think that when he is down in the lineup and able to go up against the easier competition in the 3rd and 4th lines, I think that's when he really strives, because I do think that he's got a little bit of a physical edge. But he's having a hard time with the physicality. He takes a lot of punishment. So he's got to, and he handles it. So there is that.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy, so people are going to try to push him around, but he's got that dog mentality that he's not going to back down from anybody, and I love that as a smaller person myself. But regardless, we're going to go to our Cully's post-game player interview, brought to you by Cully's Original Sports Bar, proud supporter of Niagara IceDogs hockey. Whether you're gearing up for the game or celebrating a big win, Cully's is the place to be before and after every IceDogs matchup. Just a short walk from the Meridian Centre. Cully's, it happens here, and it's with overage defenseman Noah Van Vliet on this season coming over from to Niagara, as well as committing to Sacred Heart University next season. Back in the post game with IceDogs defenseman Noah Van Vliet. Noah, you got 4 goals under your belt now, scored last night in that game against North Bay. It seems like you're getting a little bit more offensive confidence. Took you a while to get the first one, but now you're starting to really bring it offensively. Just how good does that feel for you?
No, it's obviously nice to score. I mean, I don't score much, so I don't really want to be relied upon to do that, but it's nice to get the winning goal yesterday and contribute whenever I can.
Yeah. Talk about it was a big week for you a couple weeks ago, committing to Sacred Heart, going there with Gavin Bryant, former teammate of yours as well. So just how happy are you to get that part of it out of the way and know where you're going to be playing hockey next year?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, playing in the OHL, never thought the NCAA would be an option you could use, but now that I have a place to play next year, and especially with Gavin, that should be really exciting.
What was it like? Was it a process trying to figure out what school it was that you wanted to go to? Why Sacred Heart? It seemed like they really wanted you. So what was you making that choice in the end?
No, you mentioned it. They've seemed to want me from the beginning. They've incredible facilities. I mean, Connecticut's a beautiful state. Everything about it seemed to click, and I'm really happy with where it is.
And it's your overage season. You've been on some really good teams in this league. You won a championship with the Bulldogs. You played on a Sudbury team, went to the second round last year. So coming to a young IceDogs group, how do you feel now as they try to push to the playoffs and you trying to show them what it's like, to be able to be in these dog days and get to the playoffs and be able to play in those big competitive games down the stretch?
I think we've shown in parts that we can compete and play playoff hockey. I mean, even in this game, before it got out of hand, we were right there, right in it. It's just about being consistent, especially when you're young. I know I struggled with that in my first couple of years. So it's just being consistent and playing the right way all the time.
I know we laugh about it on the post game where it seems like even when you're in a scrum or you're in a fight or something, you're always got a smile on your face. It seems like you love that type of game. Nothing seems to really rally. It doesn't seem like you get angry in a bad way. You always got a smile on your face, even when you're yanking somebody off of somebody's back or anything like that. How much is that a big part of your game and that you try to bring every night?
Yeah, that's always been part of my game since I was, I think, in Tyke. So it's something I've always taken pride in and something that makes the game fun for me.
IceDogs defenseman Noah Van Vliet on the postgame. Noah, congratulations on committing next year, and best of luck in the rest of your overage season.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
There was IceDogs defenseman Noah Van Vliet on the Cully's feature player interview. Cam, we laugh about Noah Van Vliet a lot on this show about he's the sheriff out there, just basically just directing traffic, doing the things before, after the whistles. Just a great overage defenseman that the IceDogs were lucky to get this year.
Oh, absolutely. And it was a big acquisition. We talked about it last season. They really missed that element on the back end. Someone that, is just a big, plays extremely physical, can settle things down. It's funny, he's just soft-spoken too, right? And it's always funny to watch it. We talk about it all the time, man. He seems so even-keeled until he's not. And I don't know if there's many people in the OHL that would ever challenge him. We don't see that an awful lot. Like I said, he just settles things down. I always find that funny, but it's nice to hear that that's been such a big part of his game and something that he really enjoys because it's fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get out of here tonight, we're going to put Cam on the spot as always with our stick tap of the game, brought to you by Hockey Stick Man. Pro stock hockey sticks from major junior teams right up to the NHL teams, wrapped at retail price. Stress-free shopping experience from start to finish. Check them out at HockeyStickMan.ca to join their mission in saving hockey families money. Cam, who's your player of the game for the IceDogs tonight?
I would say, it was Flores. He just kept them in it for the majority of this game. It would have been real ugly had he not been there. But I want to give a quick shout out to Aerosmith as well, because I think that he played he was really the only one that had it looked like juice in the first period and a half, and you really noticed him kind of evolve a little bit. He's kind of forgotten about, and I know that in the OHL or around the league there's a lot of the IceDogs keep giving London picks and whatnot. When you consider some of the players they've gotten from London that are a little overlooked, Aerosmith's been a great addition, and he's fit right in with Zada and Robrick, and I thought that tonight TA again didn't end up on the score sheet, but I thought that he looked really good, and I'm glad that he's an IceDog.
Had 4 chances, I think, tonight to really get one on the board.
Yeah.
2 guys I want to mention. Callum Shanowski, really good game on that top pair with Van Vliet defensively. Made some really good plays against some very skilled Barrie forwards. For a guy that isn't used to playing top pair minutes, not an easy thing. And Matthew Virgilio as well, I think, had a good game defensively.
Yeah, just 2 really good OHL defensemen, right? Just because they're not, NHL drafted players and like that, I think that kind of gets lost. But Shanowski specifically tonight had a ton of great defensive plays. And the play of the game that I hope gets shown, by head coach Ben Boudreau was the back skate by Gallianov on the power play. I think that he had on a breakaway that ended up shorthanded. He rushed all the way back and broke up the play. Love to see that out of the IceDogs. So, again, I think the depth forwards were required tonight, and for 55 minutes, I thought that they provided a lot.
Man, Jack Brady wants to score against these guys so bad.
Yeah, he is. He
tries too hard sometimes.
The engine gets going a little too much in games against Barrie, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But so, Cam, we're not going to be back here till next Sunday, our next home game against the Erie Otters without Matt Schaefer, unfortunately. But they've got 2 road games Wednesday in Brantford, which is always going to be a tough one for the IceDogs, and then in Erie on Friday before coming home to finish off the home-and-home with the Otters. Yeah,
and a big game against Brantford because while they are still first in the Eastern Conference, we talked about having home ice advantage, but there's a few teams that are within 5 points, and Brantford's one of them. And they're all the way up into 5th place now, I believe. So that's a big game. They need to win those ones.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap up another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening the next day in your favorite on-demand audio platform. Give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage. IceDogs won, Barrie Colts 5 here on the Sunday afternoon at the Meridian Centre in front of 2,933. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk to you again next Sunday following the game against the Erie Otters.